Well, hi there, it's Ninette. It's great seeing you this week, and I really hope that you enjoyed the previous 3 weeks classes and that you've had a chance to apply some of those techniques. So in this week's video, we're bringing everything to a wrap. And some of the things that I explain in this week's video is some of the projects that you've done already, how to reactivate them. So even once they dry, like some of the backgrounds that you've created that were quite subtle. So how you can keep layering different colors on that, how you can emboss those, so how you can bring some abstract shapes and textures out by embossing those. So using your alcohol ink and the way that they've played on the metal to actually guide you in creating your shapes. So that's one thing we tackle in this video. And then also I have a little bonus technique for you. So what I enjoy doing is, because the alcohol inks can be quite free in the way they're used, so you don't have a lot of control over them. If you want a little bit more control and you have, if you want to add smaller details and you don't necessarily want to use your metallic pens, I show you how to use glass paint to create the same look. So I also take you behind the scenes into my own creative process. I used to be in my head for the longest time, like if I didn't know exactly how a project was going to turn out or exactly which parts I was going to raise or emboss or whatever, then I didn't really create. So I used to be very perfectionistic in my work. And so I'm really trying to be super intentional about letting that go, having more fun while I create, and to just play. So it's something that I've learned from some different art challenges I've done online by creating small work, like really, really small, like inches. So to create a bunch of work, but really small, just to see how your own intuitive creativity expresses itself. So that's basically what got me started on it. And now I'm trying to use the same techniques using larger pieces of metal and just see what happens, especially when I create with alcohol inks or using color. I really enjoy doing that to just see, heck, what happens. You know, people love abstract art, and it's something I didn't really have a feel for, but it's definitely starting to emerge, and I'm really enjoying the process. So I'd encourage you to just try it, you know, keep playing and sort of see what happens. So with all that said, let's jump into this week's video. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the Facebook group or email me. I'd love to help you. You're never stuck. Just ask me and I'd absolutely love to help you. Right, so this was another one of our little cling film projects. So I just want to show you what that looks like when we take this off. So there we go. So like I said, this is completely dry. You'll see if I go over it with my fingers, it's completely dry. However, if you want to go in again and add, I don't know, what shall we add? Let's do some wild plum. And I just want to grab a drop of the isopropyl and my little blower tool. So even though it's completely dry, if I want to go in and add some more ink, I can do that, and you can see it just starts reactivating it. See how that's spreading out? So you can even just leave it like that, but I want to show you if you add some more isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just using my little dropper, and I'm literally just going to use a teeny tiny drop, and I add that in the middle. See how that starts playing again? So that's very cool. And like I said, you can keep going. If there's a background that you're not entirely satisfied with, even once it's dry, you can just add some more isopropyl and some more ink and just keep playing. So I hope you guys have found that helpful. There's another one or two backgrounds that we can play with, and I want to show you just some ideas with on how to use that. And maybe I just want to make those spread out a little bit, give them little tentacles. So this can almost be like little jellyfish or whatever. So there we go. The other thing is, if you add, I'm just going to add, just for fun's sake, a blue drop, and you'll see what happens. It just pushes the color away that was underneath it. So just a really cool technique. I'm going to show you what happens if we add another drop of our isopropyl. So we're going to get these multicolored rings. I can't actually wait to see what you guys have come up with. So please share your photos in the group. I'd love to see those. So here's another one that I can reveal to you, completely dry. The one that we've used our little bubble wrap. We added some more ink to this project, so it's spread out a little bit more. And you can hear as I'm peeling it off, it was fairly dry underneath. So there you can just see all those pretty patterns. Okay, so what can we do with this one? We can go ahead and let me just grab one of my little felts. Oops. So I'm going to put this onto this is just a normal cleaning cloth that I use. So I like using this because you can fold multiple layers depending on how high you want to create your projects. So for this one, let's say I want to make these goodies almost like little germs. Let me just get rid of the gloves again. Okay, so I'm just going to do a basic outline. It's not going to be perfect. Okay, so we'll do that, and we'll use our little paper pencil and just flatten. So the only thing now is once your metal has got alcohol ink on it and it's dry, your surface is a little bit different. So your tools might not glide over it the same way, and you might rub off some of the ink. So actually, let me just change my strategy here quickly. I might use this to my advantage and push that out as another little rim. So alcohol ink really lends itself to beautiful abstract work. Okay, do be gentle with it. that you don't wipe off too much of your color that you spent so much time and effort to get onto the metal. Okay, so just gently going around it, and then I'm going to push this little bit out further, so from the back it's easier to see it. So you just color this part in. Okay, so we're just playing here. This is not by any means a perfect project. Just want to show you some options. So there you have those little raised areas, and you can just go around and flatten that again. And if you want to do something further, you can use your little ball tip tools and push out some of those. Something like that. And again, keep playing. You can add some more alcohol ink into this color, or where it's sort of blank, you can make the most of the metal, do some details or patterns or textures or whatever. I'm actually just going to use this and maybe do something like that. Okay, so play, 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 play. Have fun, and let's see what happens. Let's see where this road takes us. Now I want to show you how economical alcohol inks are. You can put them in a little palette. So I've just used a little $2 shop plastic palette for these, so you can buy them like this. So depending on how much you're going to use alcohol inks, one of these bigger ones might be a good idea, so you can keep your colors separately. So what I've done with these ones is I've literally added 1 or 2 drops of alcohol ink in there and let them dry. So you can see, and I'm not using a glove now, but these are completely dry. None of it is wet. So I just want to show you. So let's say, for instance, I want to go in there. There's nothing on my brush. Okay, so I can't actually paint with it. However, if you reactivate it, you totally can. So I'm just going to add, I might not have enough green in here. Let's try. I'll try that one. I just want to show you how they reactivate. So you can add a little bit of, actually let's add some blending solution to that, because we've played a lot with our isopropyl alcohol, but not so much with our blending solution. So I'm just going to add 2 or 3 drops of that, and I'm going to go in with my brush. You can see it's a completely dry brush, and there we go. I can go in and I can pick up that color, and we can go over the leaves, and this is going to be very subtle because there's not a ton of ink left in that little palette. But I think that's actually quite pretty. So even if you let that dry again and you go back and you add some of your blending solution, you'll be able to pick up some more colors. So there's really so little wastage with alcohol ink if you know how to use it properly, that it's a super economical craft material. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the way that looks. So I might do something different in the center. So let's go and pop in. Okay, so again, I'm going to use blending solution. I'm going to grab some of that vivid pink. So you can see it reconstitutes as I go in there. And I'm just going to do this roughly just to bring a different color in there. Okay. So the other thing is, if you want to clear out one of your colors, what are you going to do? You're going to spray some of your hand sanitizer spray. Make it nice and wet, and you can go in and you can clear out this color in there. It might take you a couple of sprays. Be careful to apply it directly if you use the spray. If you want to use the gel, that's probably a better idea. Just a teeny tiny squirt of your hand sanitizer gel. Go in and clean it out. Okay, so let's say I want to add some of my this sherbet pink color in there. I'm going to use this hole for that and literally add 1 or 2 drops. Now you can either go in and paint it on directly, because this is quite a light color. So I'm just going to go very roughly over this. And again, as you can see with the lighter colors of the alcohol ink, you still get the metal shining through absolutely beautifully. So you don't lose that. It's not like you're covering up your entire metal project and people are wondering, oh my gosh, but why? You've used metal, but now you've covered it up completely. Okay, so over here, I'm not entirely sure whether that was purple or blue. I've still got a little bit of the pink left on my brush. So I'm just going to go in there, pick up some of this, dab some of it off. And I was hoping to get quite a dark purple. Let me grab some of the ones on the edges. Okay, so something like that. So I just wanted to show you that this is a different way to use your alcohol ink. So if you're traveling and you don't want to take all your bottles because you're afraid that they might fall over or squirt all over your clothes, this is a really great way. Squirt a couple of drops in there. Only take your alcohol ink blending solution, a couple of brushes and a hand sanitizer spray, and you're good to go. And so you can use this on Yupo paper as well. If you don't want to use it on your metal, all these techniques will work on Yupo paper as well. So yeah, I hope you guys found that helpful and that it opened up some more opportunities and some more ideas for you to play around with. And I'd love to see what you create. So please keep me posted and share your photos in the group. Okay, so I thought you guys might find it helpful just to see my process and how I find my inspiration, how I create my work, and just to see that just playing is actually the best thing you can do, because sometimes wonderful things emerge. So from this piece, this is a bit weird and wonderful. So I always used to create work that was super realistic. I used to work from existing designs because I didn't believe that I could draw. So it's still something I develop, but what I've realized is that if you just follow your own curiosity and the things that you are interested in, you can create work that is 100% unique to you. So this piece was actually inspired by my walks in nature. We have some beautiful forests very close to where we live. And I was in one of these nature parks the other day, and I was just absolutely fascinated by the moss growing there. So what I did was I collected some of them, and oops, I made these little terrariums. And I just want to show you. So these are all mosses, different kinds of moss that grow locally. And if you look at them up close, I mean, the detail is just gorgeous, and they're all so different. So what I then did is I started out with the way they look normally. I want to show you these as well. So there's some other ones in this jar. Just some different types. So I used that as my inspiration, and I might just bring the other one close as well. So these are the kinds of things that I find super inspiring. I collected all of these from nature, the little seed pods, the acorns. There's even a little bird's egg, some feathers. Just things that I find interesting, and, shapes and things that fascinate me. So that was the start of my process. Let me just put this away. So then what I did is I looked at the shapes. I had a couple of the jars close by. I just started drawing things freehand. And what I did was some of these are like this part here is actually what moss looks like under a microscope. So if you look at things in the natural, if you do macro photography or micro photography and you look at things under a microscope, they look completely differently. So this is another part of how moss looks under a microscope. So what I did is I just did different sections on my copper, and then I started filling them in with different components of how the moss actually looks in different parts, like either stems or their little seeds or under a microscope or whatever. So now what I want to do is I want to start adding some color to it. So I have no idea what this is going to turn out like. So for me, now is where the fun starts. This is where we're going to start experimenting. We're going to play and we're going to see what happens. So I wanted to take you through my process to help you to not freak out in the middle part where normally things turn ugly before they before they turn out beautiful. So let's start. I just want to grab a little hang on. I want to grab a piece of felt. So I'm going to use my little applicator tool again. So it's just a thin layer of felt that you stick onto some Velcro. So you can even make this yourself. You don't have to go and buy these. You can just use a wooden block, stick some Velcro on it, and then some thin Velcro. So today I'm going to be using just different shades of greens, yellows, and blues. And we're going to play. We're going to see what we get. So I'm going to start with clover. It's quite a dark green, so I'm going to add a couple of drops of clover. I might add some lettuce. we might even do lime green on this one. So then what you want to do is spray the tool with some of your sanitizer spray just to help it move. And now I'm just going to start dabbing in this spot. I might add, okay, you know what? I'll add the darker bits separately. So also, it's not going to be a worry if I go over this line, because you can just remove any excess with just cotton wool or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to use a fine tip brush. I'm just going to use a clean brush for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of Stream. So it's like it's a blue green, but it's quite dark. So just a dab. Okay, we might need a bit more. Okay, then for this part, I might dilute a little bit. Actually, I might just paint over that with clover. And whatever is left on my brush. So the other thing I wanted to show you is what happens when you paint over pieces that are already patinaed. So this was just done, I just applied acrylic paint, so just black acrylic paint over this. And I let it dry overnight. So it is possible for the ink to reactivate the patina or the paint and then make it a little bit smudgy. I'm not going to worry about that too much for now. I always feel like some darker parts give your work some beautiful contrast and depth and whatever, so I'm not going to stress about that too much for now. And as you can see, I'm really not overthinking this at all. I just want to get my color on there. I'm going to try and do the center part a bit darker. Or we can go in later and add some metallic colors. So now what I want to do is add a couple of drops of a lighter color green. And as you can see, that is making the bottom color shift. And I might do one that is a little bit more vibrant. Oh, that is a lot of ink. So as you can see, this is intuitive play. This is nothing that you need to overthink. Sometimes the beauty of art is really just letting it evolve and letting things happen and play. And let it just be what it needs to be. I think many times we overthink it completely and it sort of destroys the magic. So then what I want to do is, while I have some paint on my brush, I just want to clean this color off. So I'm just spraying some sanitizer spray on a cotton ball. And I'm just going to wipe this off. So I think I have some weird and wonderful colors on here. Okay. I wanted to show you that you can combine different mediums as well. So what I'm gonna do over here is, this is actually glass paint, vitriol. So what I love about using this with alcohol ink is that you can actually paint it over the alcohol inks once it's dry, because this is a water-based paint. It won't reactivate your alcohol ink. So I'm just going to use it over these parts just to show you what that looks like. It almost gives like an enamel paint kind of look, or a glass stained look. And what's cool about it is that you can still see all the detail beneath your colors. So these little stripes that I've done that are engraved, you can still see all of that detail beautifully. Okay, I'm just going to speed this up quickly. You don't need to sit through the whole thing. Right, so these are some pieces that I've done with a combination of alcohol inks and glass paint. And so some of the details have been engraved, others have been embossed. It was just creative playtime for me. So sometimes I just need to get out of my own head and just have fun with my creative process. So this was a result of one of those playtimes. So trying to figure out how the alcohol inks work together, what happens when you add glass paint to it, what happens when you add Sharpies to it, you know, that kind of thing. So this was that. So obviously I started with the embossing process first, then I patinaed, and then I started applying my inks. So on these two parts, I think I used a combination of 3 different colors actually. So I painted that on. I painted it on directly and then layered different color alcohol inks with a brush on these parts. So same with the blues, I painted those directly on. And then like with the purple part, I painted the first layer and then added little drops with a paintbrush in different colors. So that made the alcohol ink spread, and this is what gave it that sort of a look. So then with these little teardrops, I filled those in with the glass paint because you have more control over it. I just feel like if you have such a tiny space, you want to be mindful because sometimes what happens is because the alcohol ink spreads so fast, if you have a small little space like this, I don't want it to run over. So if I want to do a combination of different colors, then that is a good way to use your glass paint. Right, so that was one of those. This was sort of a underwater microbe inspired piece. So same thing. So you can see on these bits, I used a technique like we used with the little felts. So adding a couple of drops and just stamping it on and then dropping different colors so it made it spread. So that's how I achieved this look. Then I painted with the alcohol ink directly over just this part, but it spread to there. So the initial idea was to just paint this little embossed part, but then once it started spreading, now it looks like a little sea worm. So I was actually quite chuffed with the way that turned out. So obviously I painted the background first, then I directly painted on this little part with sort of a pink alcohol ink. And then once that was dried, I used the back of one of my embossing tools. So the smallest little ball tip tool, just dipped it in there and dipped a little, just a tiny amount of alcohol ink on here. Because if you use a paintbrush, it creates larger dots. So I just wanted really small dots on there. Okay, so then moving along to this part over here, I just took brush strokes, just directly painted. I think I might have diluted one of the blues with a little bit of alcohol just to not make the color be that strong. So I brushed it on in strokes and then added again just a little amount of diluted ink to create these little bubble kind of goodies. And then over here, if you look at that, I started with stamping it on using the applicator tool and one of these kind of felt goodies. So just dabbed it on and then again dropped different colors. So I used diluted ink on that as well. Then the little dots that I did on top of this embossed piece was done with the glass paint, just because I know it won't spread. It's, whatever you paint there, that's where it stays. I used glass paint for the little, the border of this little sea creature. So that's how you can actually control your colors and make the alcohol ink less abstract. Some of it is a little bit abstract, as you can see, but then like the yellow that I've used on top of this little part is also glass paint. So I just wanted to give you some more options, and for those of you who want a little bit more control, now you know how to achieve that. All right, and then this one, same thing. It's just an abstract piece, underwater inspired, and you can see, so the subtle colors is achieved by diluting your alcohol ink and brushing it on, and then adding drops of diluted ink into that. And you can see the little yellow dots that I made here. So that was, I think I actually just used the Sharpie for that, just to give me more control. So this little critter was actually a combination of alcohol ink, and then I sort of dry brushed glass paint over it. So you've got this sort of a streaky look over there, and glass paint on this section as well. These little dots were just done with a permanent marker. And what else? So this was also a dry brush technique. You can actually even use acrylic paint. If you don't have glass paint, acrylic paint will work very well over alcohol ink as well. So if you have sections that you want more control over, you can do that with just normal acrylic paint. All right, so I really hope that was helpful and that you have some ideas of how to incorporate your alcohol ink into your metal projects. Can you believe we've come to the end of our time together? I just want to say thank you so much for your support. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing the homework. And just thank you for being here. I really just loved every second of spending time together with you guys in the Facebook group, seeing how you made these techniques your own and having fun with it. So it's been absolutely lovely and I want to thank you and bless you.